My name is Steve Poskitt, 62 years old. I'm instructor at Brighton Wing Chun Kung Fu School. I've been teaching Wing Chun for 10 years. I grew up in Essex. I was born in Canada. My interest in martial arts was when I was at college at 16. At that time, martial arts, particularly Chinese martial arts, had just sort of broken into the television scene. There was the series Kung Fu, Bruce Lee was just coming up with his films and whatever, so a lot of people were interested. I think it was in the mid-80s. I'd been doing other martial arts on and off, and some friends were training with Sifu Liu, and I just went along to the classes and joined up. I trained under now Grandmaster Kevin Liu for 9 months. But that's sort of what started me off on the Wing Chun journey, because my background is in science. Yeah, so I was a scientist, a mathematician, and it appealed to me because the way it was taught went into body mechanics and the science of fighting. I developed an interest in all Eastern philosophies and religions, because to me they seem to make a lot more sense than the Western. I think maybe when Western religions became too regimented and controlled, that the average person lost the fact sort of trying to get yourself settled inside spiritually is an important part of life. The Eastern philosophies and religions, I started building up a want to go to these countries and find out more. Yeah? So in my mid-20s I saved up and just bought a ticket around the world. So started off in India and travelled all the way through Asia down to Australia. I was just about to open a business in Thailand because I'd been running music venues in this country, because that's one of my other passions. I'm a musician. I took a lift on a Saturday night, a mile down the road on the back of someone's motorbike, and some locals who were out partying were drunk and driving a Jeep, and they smashed into us. I sustained quite a lot of internal injuries, but I was torn in half basically. So I lost a lot of my bladder. The doctor told me I couldn't walk anymore and I'd live in a wheelchair. So my view was, I'm not living like that. You know, I'm not living in a wheelchair, I'm not going to do it. But once I had recovered, one of the reasons I got into the IT side of things was because I didn't know whether I was going to walk. So my attitude was, I either get better or die, no questions. So sort of on and off, the only thing I really did was I did Qi Kung. But didn't do any martial arts because the doctors had told me it'd be bad for my health, that I wouldn't be able to cope with it. And it took about a year to learn to walk again. Once I'd recovered, I went back to Thailand to visit the place that had happened. Partly because, I thought if I don't go back there, it's never closed. And then I met my wife while I was travelling. So eventually we got married. I had a child, a boy. And it wasn't until a long time later, when my son was about 12 or 13, he started wanting to do martial arts. He couldn't get any friends to go with him, so he finally persuaded me to go with him. I did at first, but then I attempted more and more, and then realised that, well, actually I can do a lot more than I expected to be able to do, and it's not injuring me, it's actually making me feel a lot better. So once I realised I could do a martial art, I went back to Wing Chun. But the most difficult part to learn in Wing Chun is the sensitivity or chi cell exercises, basically because they don't gradually improve, because you don't see any gratification basically from it for a long time. It jumps, and that makes it quite difficult to keep doing. The modern world doesn't encourage patience. Everybody wants instant gratification. So I think it's one of the hardest things for people to adapt to. One of the surprising things I found about teaching Wing Chun is how difficult people find it to actually properly relax. And people think they're relaxed, but they're not. They're really tense. In the future, I'd like more and more people to become aware of what Wing Chun is. And a lot of people don't realise what Wing Chun is, so that's one of the reasons they won't come to a class, because they think it's beyond their capabilities, but in fact it's not. So I think this is important to get through to people, that Wing Chun's for everybody, all ages, shapes and sizes.